What up, guys? My name is Kyle Chambers, 10 Planet Freak, 10 Planet Oceanside. And what up, guys? I'm here with you guys today. So, first stop on a bucket list, not even a bucket list, but this nice little month journey is going to be Cancun, of course. That's where we're here right now with this beautiful view. And then I'm going to be in Brazil at Carnival. And then we're going to go to Medellin, Colombia right after for 2 weeks.
So, are you coming off of your competition stint? Is this kind of like your pattern? I know we've talked about this before, but, as the public gets to know you and talks to you, like, what's your pattern, would you say, as like a professional grappler? Would you call yourself a professional grappler?
Yeah, absolutely, man. This is what I do for a living. This is how I, pay for everything. So, yeah, yeah, man, like my pattern in jiu-jitsu really is just like, it's kind of a year round. You don't really have seasons, so it's pretty much every month of the year you're active. But for me, especially, is a lot of it's the later part of the year. It gets way more packed from pretty much April to December, So I like to go super hard, very active competitor, competing almost every 2 weeks on all your main platforms, Flow Grappling, the UFC Fight Pass, all that good stuff. But after that, I like to kind of get the physical break, the mental break, and that's what I'm kind of doing right now. Get that little month to recharge your batteries, if you will, to have another 9 months of just grinding. Because when you're there, that's all you're doing is trying to get better, hitting that nice stuff. But like when you're trying to hit that next level, but after that, it's kind of a good balance to kind of separate from that a little bit, not train, but just kind of take off the intensity a little bit.
Well, because it's a grueling thing to try to like play at the game, because you're playing in one of the rooms that, how many of y'all would you say are in that top pile in your room? What room are we referring
We're talking
to?
The Freaks,
Oceanside,
10 Planet Oceanside. Main instructor is Giovanni, Martinez, Gio, the Freakazoid, the Ultrazoid. We've been together for 13 years, It's me, him, it's Kyle Bame is there, we have, of course, Boogie always comes down. We have Kevin Burbrick as well, always come down. What is that, 3, 4 already? 5 people already listed,
You're already in, like, you're listing off people that are top 10s, top 20s, like all throughout the list.
Correct.
So, you're talking about a grueling schedule. So on that, you're saying like you're a 9 month on, like 1 month off kind of pattern.
Yeah.
Did you come up with that just like bumping around, feeling around? Did you read something? Like what put you on that?
A combination of a couple things. Traveling the world allows you to understand most places have like holidays.
Yeah.
The government gives people holidays. It actually pays them to have a vacation because even they understand the balance, the work-life balance, that you need to have your normal life of your grind. You could, even if you're passionate about that is your passion, you still need something that's kind of separate to that, for that balance, So seeing that, as well as I don't want to be burnt out. I love jiu-jitsu. That's, what I do. But I also love experiencing different parts and different aspects of life. Jiu-jitsu is not everything as well, even though I love it so much.
Have you ever gotten burnt out on jiu-jitsu? Like, have you ever hit that burnout?
The first time I ever almost got burnt out really is probably this last year.
Oh, for real? Okay.
Just between being booked with so many things, I think I had 15 fights maybe in just a month time almost. Between the PGF, having like 9 in a week.
Yeah.
Taza, the UFC Fight Pass right after. Those are just a couple, and that's already 12 fights right there.
You're already 13 flights.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So I'm like, just that alone, and then me being active with other stuff every 2 weeks is just, it's no time, kind of. You're just trying to get better, grinding all the time, strength and conditioning, cardio, all that stuff. So it's like, that's the only time I might say I ever got burnt out, maybe, and I had to kind of take the first month of January. I was like still training, because I always train every day, but it's a little less intensity. It's like you almost can't hit your higher gears because you're kind of mentally burnt a little bit.
So you just kind of like take a mental vacation, even though you're still kind of like training, showing up to the room, doing the things.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't put anything on the horizon and don't have that like hamster wheel effect.
You just don't add any. You don't add exactly. You don't try to add any other opportunities right away. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you don't try to compete. You've been just competing so actively. You kind of like say no to a couple of things, or just
So how long have you been actively competing at that like pro
highest level?
Yeah.
Ever since like 2 years in, 1 year in, really. I feel like me, Gio, we've been kind of the top ever since we started. I feel like he's the fastest black belt in our system with 3.5 years. My goal was to surpass him. You know what I mean?
How close did you get?
I was super close. He's lucky I had to go to college. You know, he's lucky. I would have been number one.
The brain. You were going for the brain.
You know, I got to get a black belt with both. You know,
Gio.
so Gio's lucky. You know, you're just focused on one. I had two paths. You know, but it was like 4.5, 5 years. It was like 5 years that I got my black belt. You know,
that's still fast. Like for like the person that
it's
doesn't
fast,
know,
man. Like I had blue belt in 9 months.
Okay.
And then within 16 months total, I had my my purple belt, excuse me. And then 3 years, I had my brown belt. And then even when I got my black belt, like 4.5, 5 years, they're like, dude, about time. I was like, Gio's holding me back. You know, I was like, he's sandbagging me. It was like brown belt competition's all boring.
Yeah.
You're just like, no, you're going to win. You know what I mean? You're doing a quintets going against 5 people. You beat all 5. You're just like, you know what I mean? But you can't go to your coach like, yo, when can I get promoted? You know, like
no,
you can't,
because that immediately slides it back. Right?
Yeah, you know, and it's not about that. It's all about the journey. You know, I'm not in
yeah.
it for the promotions. You know, I'm just there for like the community. You're having a great time. Learning is fun.
Well, and you answered my question as you were saying that. Was that my next question was like, did you ever feel like any of the belts were heavy to carry? And it doesn't sound like it. Like
Nah.
You were one of those guys that like you found your path, found your thing, and kind of carried each belt.
Correct.
Well, because you know there are times that I've seen guys that have gotten advanced quickly, and then it kind of gets difficult for them to carry the belt, and ultimately, like most of those guys that I know, they just quit, like because it gets
adversity gets too
difficult.
much.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So I mean, like you said, the journey is the point
For sure.
because that's where the learning exists.
Mhm.
A lot of the black belts I know, I meet them and they're a black belt, but then they're a blue belt in something else, or a purple belt in something else, or even a black belt in something else. And you're like, oh, they figured out pathways and they know how to like connect dots. And everybody's looks different.
Correct.
You know, that's one of the beautiful things that I like about jiu-jitsu. Your travels, that's one of the things I bump into you in all kinds of places.
Everywhere. Yeah.
I mean, my most memorable one was where I bumped into you in Monterey, and here we are in Mexico again. But like, I tell the story all the time of like I've seen this man shut down a taco truck. That, like you sat down and you just kept eating because you know they don't settle up with you till you're done ordering.
Correct.
And when they got done with your order, they just kind of looked back at their homies and they were like, we sold enough tacos. Let's go home.
We're good, yeah.
So is that something that existed before jiu-jitsu and you just kind of integrated the two passions?
Yeah, man. I've always been a big foodie. You know,
Yeah,
I
I
love
feel you.
food. I've been active since I was like 4.5, like 5 years old. You know, my first sport was track. Yeah, as you know, as a track athlete, especially as a sprinter and a jumper, you burn a lot of calories. You know
So
what I mean?
you got that metabolism jacked
The
up
metabolism
early.
is
Yeah,
fast,
yeah,
so you
yeah.
eat so much when you do eat, you know. And as track, you're sprinting 5 days a week, 4 days super hard, and then you have competition Saturday and Sunday if it's a 2-day meet, you know. So doing that and then trying to like get bigger over the years too, you just start to eat a lot, and then you start learning that you like all these different flavors, and you go to different countries. There's different type of things you never heard of, you know. So you get a spiked interest on that, you know.
What's been your favorite palate, like globally?
Man, Southeast Asian food.
Really?
It's because you have a little bit of everything. If you want some like ramen or like kind of noodle base, you can have pad thai or something like that. If you want something more fried, they have chicken and stuff. You want healthy, they have the best fruit smoothies I ever had in my life because everything is just they just pick it, you know what I mean? And you have it.
Yeah.
Natural fruit, you know, just natural
dude.
sugar is beautiful.
Coconuts.
That's what I'm saying. Oh, just grab it. You know, the mangoes there. Oh, my goodness.
You do know that you're here. It's mango season,
I already
right?
know. I had some of the best mangoes I ever had in my life today.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's, we're going to have to, I totally forgot about that. So we're going to have to pick up
definitely
some mangoes
indulge in
on the
that.
way to the gym.
Yes.
But,
please.
and it's so cool, like, when you're traveling around like that, you find different places, and just, like, a couple of days ago, I went to just, like, a little tiny, like, literal hole in the wall.
Yeah.
And had some of the best training I've had in, like, 8 months. And, like I've been in some pretty big rooms, and, like, in this tiny little hole in the wall in the corner of Mexico, like, I found, like, a super dope room to train in.
Be like
with
that
some
sometimes.
guys.
Yeah.
Like, the kid, my last roll of the night was a dude that had trained since he was 12 years old, and he was 24.
Just
like,
half his life.
Half your life, bro.
Yeah.
You're
This
just,
is all you know.
your body's designed for this
Yeah.
now.
You're a killer now.
So, like, I would probably put you in a like generation of like right between those guys. There's like
sure.
the old guard, and then there's like this like new guys like I just talked about, the like 22 trained
sure.
since they were 10. You're
For
like,
sure.
well, that's your whole life.
Mm-hmm.
You're in that in between stage. Like, when did you start?
When I was 19.
19.
Yeah.
So like when you were 19 and you're now what?
32.
32. So you're in that window. So you have that like experience. What's it's like kind of having, you have a little bit of the like wisdom, because like you've crossed over 30. You know, people say that like people become way more useful at 31.
Yeah.
So like when you're looking at it that way and you're in that, what do you see with these new guys coming up? Like, do you see a lot of y'all selves? Are they like making some of the same mistakes? Like, what are some of the things you see?
See a lot of similarities. I feel like the brazenness, you know, the just like going for it, like just all the flying techniques. Sometimes I'm like, have it in my game, or you just like question it. Sometimes you're like, should I do that? So even sometimes before comps, I'm like, bro, you need to go do your own stuff. Sometimes, you know that. But you're like, dude, I might hurt a little bit, you know. Versus like the younger guys don't care, you know what I mean? Like that's not like a big difference. They don't pull back, they just pull it, you know what I mean? So I feel like with the experience now too, you're just kind of like different. I've always been a sniper. I've always had that in my game. It's just like one shot, one kill, whatever I grab, I'm gonna finish, you know?
Yeah.
But sometimes that looks a little different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And some things are a little bit like from those flying techniques, still do different one shot, one kill Hail Marys from the beginning, but it might not be as flying. It might be some type of inversion to that. You know what I mean? Or something a little different. So with the younger guys, I just feel like they jump off the building, base jumping almost right away. You know?
I hope this one parachute works.
Yeah, it's full send it fully. I feel like that sometimes where you're like, you get more calculated maybe versus like, you know, when you get older, you get, you know, the experience. You're like, oh, I could do that, but maybe this is a better solution for this problem.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I feel you. Speaking of the Monterey, when I was just thinking that if I can find the clip, it's one of my favorite clips of you that I've ever seen in the way, because like your Jackie Chan entry.
Yeah.
I really enjoy that one. But what people don't understand is that you launched that from your feet.
Yeah.
And I have a clip from that ADCC Monterey where like you did a Jackie Chan entry from 2 mats away is where it started. And the guy, like, you can see the terror on the guy as you come, like, hurling through the air, legs in the air. And if I can find the clip, I'll put it in here slow motion of, like, he's sitting here, like, swinging around. And it was a beautiful entry. And it's one of those things that's like, well, that was athletic.
Yeah. I always keep, that's just part of the game I can never change. That's why I think, like, man, when you're old, can you still do the things you do? That's what I always think. I was like, your style is kind of different, like, because I've been doing sports my whole life. So explosion, fast twitch is all my body really knows, you know?
Have you seen that change much over the last few
Not
years?
really,
or are you
man.
just full steam ahead, feeling
it's
good?
the same feel, really. You know, I think your mind just grows, but my body is so young.
Okay.
You know, everything. I still have flexibility. I still play rubber guard. I still can bring both legs behind my head, you know, like I can still do that which helps when you're getting smashed in rubber guard, be able to have that flexibility without your joints being in duress or, you know, or stress, extra stress, you know, because that's where a lot of LCLs happen. You pop that because your body can't handle that angle, and then people are starting to try to posture up, and then you pop your knee, you know, or you're doing gogo platas and you're trying to do a flying kung fu, or you're trying to actually use a chill dog and you still pop your knee. Too stiff, you know? So that, I feel like, is a main thing or staple to the 10 Planet Freak style. Just the 10 Planet style, like Master Eddie used to always say, like, gotta have, like, full lotus to be a black belt, you know? But then it's like that, and then there's, like, freak flexibility. You know what I mean? It's a little different, you know? Us as a family, you know, it's just like, everybody's super flexible, you know. A lot of people coming from a breakdancing, you know, kind of background. Some from other sports. Some are just straight yoga, and so just like, you know, it's just different types of flexibilities. Contortionists, you know what I mean? Like it's just like that's different type of flexibility, bro.
Did you see my like it was, I think, this weekend. I did the worm at a wedding in Mexico. No. Oh, dude, I'll have to find the clip and show it to you. But that's they have like, it's basically line dancing with like an extra step and a spin.
Yeah.
But I couldn't ever figure out the spin, and so they have me on video like out in the middle of the dance floor feet. And like everybody'd spin, and then like I'd be facing the wrong direction. I'm like, oh man, and I'd like turn around. So I had to make up for the gringo 2 left feet, and I broke out the worm.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, that's my one party trick that I feel like that earns me at least like half a stripe in the freaks world.
That's sick. He's like, that's my one move that always carries me.
You break that out?
One move, yeah.
Hey, you get a hey. You hit him with a little like white boy.
Do you reverse it?
Huh?
Do you reverse the worm or do you just go forward?
Backwards and forwards.
Okay, okay, yep.
And I used to be able to do the helicopter, but I haven't done that in a long time.
Do you from standing or do you have to go on the ground first then initiate it? Or can you hit it like the smooth?
It's
from
like
the standing?
I go up to the corner of the dance floor and I hit like as I do like down to my hands. and go, like, down. Like it's like I do like a little handstand. That's not really a handstand.
No, I hear you. That's what I was asking. Yeah.
And hit the I can hit the smooth.
Okay.
I'll break it out here in a little bit. Like we'll do it. But it's really funny to me because as a kid, I got really attracted to like the skateboard world and like the like West Coast world, but I was living like dirt roads, Alabama. So the only real exposure I got to it was like the film and the like content and the stuff like that, and seeing those type of things. Like I became a big like DJ Shadow fan and like the producer type stuff because I liked to watch that culture. And when I came across like the freaks world and like, you know, Boogie and Geo and all their stuff, like it was like, oh, this was like a match made in heaven. I love hanging out with these guys. So like my connection through Steven, like it's been the coolest thing to see it and to watch it be in the space that it's in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah,
because like jiu-jitsu's in this wild world right now where it's grown so fast. Like you've been in this long enough, you've seen the like difference of like
growth,
used to be like, you know, your uncle at Thanksgiving was like, how's jiu-jitsu going?
Yeah.
And you're like,
it's not karate.
Yeah. All right, I don't do that. You're like, yeah, Billy here is a purple belt.
Yeah.
You're like, man,
I already know.
I'm a blue belt. So like, what's it been like here in the last few years where it's really actually like when you say you're a professional grappler, like now it kind of like means something. Like people understand what that means.
Mm-hmm. I feel like it's just cool too. Just like you said, the more notoriety. I feel like even like family members are getting like, oh, this is what he does. Okay, cool. Like, dude,
he's
like,
a professional
he's a
athlete.
professional athlete. You know, like, I feel like it's like it means more. You know, because like I remember when I finished school. You know, like I said, I went to school, got a double bachelor's. When I finished, and I was like, told my mom I was like gonna do grappling. She's just like, what? Like, you know, like you're gonna do what?
Why?
Like you have 2 degrees, like go to law school, like get a doctorate, like you know what I mean? Like what are you talking about? Like, you know, but now she's just excited more than anybody, knows how much it paid off, can see the progression of the sport because she's been there since the beginning, you know, family members on the East Coast or whatever. It's just like even do the town, you know, like people that we know, friends are working at shops and they're like, you know, Kyle, whatever, and they're like, what? That's my neighbor. They don't know how big it is because they like been around me my whole life, but they see how excited other people are about it. So just like seeing that, just getting more mainstream, you start seeing it on more bigger channels, like UFC Fight Pass and stuff like that. That helps significantly and stuff like that. So just seeing the growth of it being just like in a basement, in a garage, like you were talking about earlier, to now being on mainstream on TV. You can, it's on everything now, you know. So.
Yeah, it's cool watching it get that big, and like there's still these little pockets of it too, though, that it's still, we are going to the garage and like training with the homies, and like it's still that, like it's a pure form that, you know, I don't want to see go away. No. But like the true grassroots has kind of like, you can see it in the ones that like you said, like where we were talking about a second ago, is that like anywhere in the world, like you do all these travels, you can almost always find a jiu-jitsu spot.
Correct.
It's crazy.
And it's crazy seeing places like, for instance, Thailand. You know what I mean? Mostly a Muay Thai culture, obviously, you know? The first time going to like now, it's changed, you know? So the first time I went was when me and Gio went. It was probably like 7 years ago, 8 years ago. You know, going in that time, jiu-jitsu's there. We went to Tempena Kotal, you know, shout out to them. Island off the mainland, of course, you know, the Ko Islands. We went there, like jiu-jitsu was just like present, you know, like, but not like crazy, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? And then now going back last year, I was there for a month. You see it all through Bangkok. You see it in Phuket, you know, you can just see the growth of it, you know, but you can still see that they're like the baby stage of it.
Yeah.
Like you can see like there's some more MMA based because of one championship. So all that area is getting more MMA based, but you can see, excuse me,
They're
That's
having to train
growth.
on the ground.
yeah, they're definitely
yeah.
doing more jiu-jitsu stuff, and you can see the growth of it. It's like this was not anywhere really just 7 years ago, but now you almost see it every gym. They have a grappling kind of instructor there, you know. So
Yeah.
it's really
Yeah.
amazing.
That's cool. The my very first exposure to like the combat sports world is a book by Sam Sheridan called Fighter's Heart.
Fighters.
Did you ever read that
No, I
or
didn't.
hear about it? So like it's the cover of the book is like him just like covered in blood. Like and he's just like this jack dude like and he's got the like Muay Thai wraps and like
Sick.
you know just that. He was I don't remember the whole backstory on like his like actual like background in things, but I know that he like adventured around all over the place and he was like a merchant marine and then he like was sailing around with a rich guy like helping him like sail his boat around the world and he ended up in Australia and ran into I can't remember the guy, like I said, the lineage and stuff. I can't remember quite who they all were, but like it was a homeboy in Australia that was like one of the first Muay Thai guys in Australia. And so he just hung out in Australia for a little while and trained with this guy. And he's like, hey, you want to go to Thailand and like fight in the stadium series? And he's like, sure. And he like went there, like fought in that and like all that stuff. I read that book when I was 18 on a trip in Alaska.
That's cool.
And when I read that book, I didn't realize that I was basically just going to model my life.
I was gonna say,
after
do the
that.
same shit. Yeah.
Like it was one of those. I even did a podcast with him. This on my
When it
YouTube
like
channel.
inspired you didn't even know.
Oh, dude, it's crazy. And so, like, just the connections that combat sports can have
For
through,
sure.
like, this weird, like, cross, like, language. Like, yesterday you had to sit and wait for your tacos while I taught a kids class
Yeah.
to a bunch of kids that speak Spanish,
Yeah.
no English, and the assistant teacher is another young gentleman that doesn't speak any English.
yeah.
So,
That's the beautiful thing about jiu-jitsu
Yeah.
too, is a body language. I'm showing you visually.
Yeah.
Here,
Yeah.
here. It's like it
And a
doesn't
child
need
can
language.
figure it
And
out,
and a
yeah.
child could like, you know, has no demographic.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful.
It's crazy. So like, well, what are some of your favorite spots that you've trained, like in
the world?
culturally, like in the world? Like, what are your
Yeah.
favorite like training
Places.
spots?
One was Prague.
Okay.
Prague was fantastic. Every time I go to places, I'm like, man, I bring, you know, a couple training gear. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I don't need to train like I always train at home, but this is what I love, you know? So I always bring a couple of spare clothes. And I remember being in Prague, specifically Prague 2 district. And I'm there, I'm like looking for jiu-jitsu gyms, you know,
Yeah.
and really I lucked out because I'm just looking at times that I can like go and stuff like that. But I ended up going to like one of the best gyms, but it was just like one of the best facilities, showers, nice, you know, room, full mats, you know what I'm saying? It was just like super welcoming, you know. I didn't expect anybody to really know me, really, which, you know, but then
Right.
people like whispering, are you Kyle Chambers? You know, I'm like, yeah, man. Like, oh no, like, you know, then the energy changes, but it's like, because I'm in a random place in Eastern Europe, you know what I mean?
Right,
I'm like,
right,
it's not
right,
the United
right,
States.
right.
I'm just like, you know, but it's just cool. The culture carries even in a random place.
Yeah,
That's what
yeah.
we're talking about, you know, like that's probably one of my favorite places. Medellin.
Okay,
Colombia,
okay.
really, really cool because that's like a different type of facility, different type of everything, you know.
Right.
So it's just like more open gym versus an enclosed facility. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
they're
It's just
like out
different,
open to the
and
elements, yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
So it's a whole different vibe, but still very welcoming people. They're like right when I got there, just like, do you want to teach class? While you're here, you might as well teach something, you know. So I'm like, all right, you know, like, and it was the same thing. It's like a mixture of like Spanish and people that speak English.
Yeah.
So you're like doing like Spanglish, you know, you're like, you're not like,
How's your Spanglish? We're talking about it.
hey man, we're all right, you know. Like I said, I'm like a blue belt, you know what I mean? Like we're like,
I see
I
a
could-
head shaking back.
yeah, I'm like a blue belt. We got some work to do, you know, but we be getting our reps, you know.
Okay. You're showing up to open mat.
Yeah, we're showing up to open mat, you know. We got a little bit of technique,
You got a
know.
good triangle.
We got a good
You got a
triangle,
real
you know.
good
We got that
triangle.
one submission that's really good, you know. We got our
That's
specialties basically.
That's funny. I've heard. I mean, all down through Latin America, there's good training. There's,
For sure.
I mean, of course, you're going to the motherland of
For sure.
Brazil.
Yeah.
Like that's.
Rio.
Have you been to Brazil before?
It'd be my first time, man.
Yeah.
You know, it's like somewhere I always wanted to go. But like I said, with our lifestyle, we're so active. You know, even when you have the means to, you don't really have the time. You know, and time is very hard because you always have big promotions asking, and it's opportunities. You always want to take advantage of those opportunities when you've been given them. You know, so a lot of times I haven't really gone there. You know, so now I actually have the opportunity, have the time. So I'm really excited to kind of have the beach life, go do some training, to go be one with nature, you know what I mean? I love all that stuff, see the different animals, you know what I mean? Eat the different food and fruits, you know what I mean? Just be present, you know, completely.
Yeah, I feel you. As you're heading into vacation and coming out of vacation, you'll head back into your like
comp
season.
For sure.
Your comp situations. When you're like looking at your promotions and the ones that you have competed for, one, what are the things you look for that like you most are attracted to go compete for them? And two, what's been your favorite one you've competed for in the last, couple years?
Yeah, man, my favorite. I love combat jiu-jitsu. Combat jiu-jitsu is kind of fun.
Yeah,
you know,
fun.
I just like
always fun spots too.
Fun spots.
Yeah.
I love like competing in Mexico, man. I love just the atmosphere of combat jiu-jitsu is just more, almost like, I don't want to use that word of like scared, but it's just more foreign. You know what I mean? It's more out of us. So it's like cool, but lucky our system is built for that. Yeah. But it's always like, man, when am I gonna get hit? Am I gonna get hit, or are we gonna do jiu-jitsu? You know,
like in the strikes, cool. Like having the strikes come into play. Like it's fun. Like having that extra chest piece that gets put in there. Yeah.
I love difficulty. I love adversity. It drives me. It makes me train harder.
Did you fight any MMA?
No, I didn't.
No, you didn't?
So I just came in and go, so I'm going against UFC fighters. I'm going, I'm doing all that, but that makes it fun because it's almost an even ground. You have more experience in striking and angles and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, this is a jiu-jitsu kind of match as well, you know? So I love that element of like, can I beat you at what you're good at?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So that was a really fun one. I love always competing for Flow. You know, Flow Grappling is always fantastic. They just like take care of their people, you know? I love the UFC Fight Pass stuff.
Yeah.
You know, all the fight. I want to do another one, man. I was sick the last one, unfortunately. You know, when we did the PGF, everybody got sick in Vegas, and I didn't get sick. I'm like, my immune system is fantastic. You know, I'm all talking, you know what I mean? And then, like, did the Taza, and then just being so active. Towards the end of the season, my body's immune system was horrible. And we're back in Vegas for a whole week doing all that, and just the desert, and it's way different than Oceanside.
Yeah.
My body just couldn't handle between the weight cut and stuff. I was just, like, sick. Yeah. So I couldn't even, like, perform like I wanted to, you know what I mean? Yeah. So I want to do that again. And I love how they take care of everybody too, just set you up and stuff, and just how everything is just done professionally, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, but those are probably the main ones I like the most or want to do most.
Have you done an FPI, or was that the first one?
That was the first one.
That was the first one you had to do? Yeah. That's been interesting. They've had some good cards, like the good matches, good lineups. I'll be interested to see how like that keeps playing out, like as they, make their way through the different rankings and stuff like that. It'll be interesting to watch. Then it's like you said, it's good for the sport of the fact that like the UFC is like, we want to come in and like make a good jiu-jitsu show. You know, as a community, we're like, thank God.
Like, I feel like Dana's always been there watching, because even when I did the SUG, remember during like COVID?
Oh yeah,
with Chael Sonnen, remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
I think I was like the only one, like me and my teammate, but we got the bonus. For from Dana White.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like Dana White's always been present. That's already 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So I feel like this has always been a making, but he's just a really strategic kind of person, seeing the market going up, and it's probably like, let's do it now.
Man, I think that the jiu-jitsu, like the really smart people too that I talk to in the community, is that like jiu-jitsu at this point now, the top is so astronomical of like how big this could be.
For sure.
Is that like you're basically taking what became, say, WWE, and they're in all kinds of crazy talks about those parent companies of what they're doing. You're taking the concept of that and reinventing it again in real life, in real time, but with the technology and the reach that we have, like, on the media is insane.
Yeah.
And so it's like you can grow something like that so much bigger, so much faster.
For sure.
So, like, the people like Dana, the people like that are playing behind the scenes, that, like, they've seen it for a long time.
Absolutely.
And it's one of those, I've recently taken up surfing here.
Yeah.
And I was always the, like, no belt, white belt that would like show up to open mat when we would go to like surf lessons when we were at like a jiu-jitsu camp.
Yeah.
And so I was always just, the guy out there barely not drowning, which I'm a strong swimmer. Surfing is a different kind of swimming. But one of the things that I've learned is that like you have to give up to the flow. Yeah. And you have to like let things like develop. And that's like in something like this is that when you're describing this, it would be like going to somebody in 1991 and telling them that skateboarding was going to be in the Olympics. They'd laugh you out of the room.
Yeah.
They'd be like, no way.
For sure.
Well, looky here. Like so the top is so crazy that like it's wild to exist in that time in a sport to me. But well, as far as the white belt or blue belt or the black belt, anybody that's sitting there and they're trying to figure out what that means, because I think that sometimes we misquote in the fact of we're talking about the journey, right? And then like that's the point. Well, then like some people see all the things like we just talked about of like all these big like fame, money, stuff that could happen from it. How do you tell somebody to stay on that like journey? What has it been for you? Because you've seen all the big things that you could get distracted by, and that you've seen like your peers get distracted by. Maybe you have been distracted by. Like, how do you like stay on that journey? What is yours?
Yeah, I feel like it's different for everybody, Like some people, if you're like doing it for the money and doing it for that stuff, that's not the right reason to start jiu-jitsu.
Definitely not.
Like
this is a green screen, everyone. We're actually in a basement somewhere in Milwaukee. Help.
But it's like true, you got to do anything you want to do is because you love it, you know what I mean? Yeah. And that's the reason why we say it's the journey too, because you're not in it for belts, you're doing it because you love it. Yeah. I did it because I found a great community. I love the people that were in this community, very genuine people. They're very similar to me. Like you said, you found the freaks. It was like a very similar thing for me too. Like I met Gio, and when I'm in this room, it's all like purple, different colors, all this galaxy stuff, all this trippy stuff. Everybody's cool, flexy, doing all these crazy stuff. It was just the energy drawn to me, I was just like, I want to be like these guys, and I always wanted to be around people that like better me in other aspects of life, and I feel like this is what it was, you know what I mean? And ever since then, it was just like the rest is history. But as you're a white belt, just like have fun with it. Sometimes I feel like you get discouraged too as a white belt because you're getting beat up. Yeah. You're not ever winning, You're like, that gets, the first level is hard. If you get over that, it's like blue belt, when you're a blue belt, people get satisfied. That's where all the memes come from. People get their blue belt like, finally I'm okay. I'm finally decent.
Good.
I'm good. They quit,
I know how to do jiu-jitsu.
I know how to do jiu-jitsu. I got promoted, you see? Like, and they disappear. And like, if you get over that mentality, like, I still got a lot to learn, you can reach your purple belt. When you're purple belt, what they say is almost like if you're purple belt, you're essentially like your black belt without the experience. You pretty much are like 75% of your experience, or you're gonna be a black belt. Like you're still gonna learn stuff on your journey to black belt, but most of your information is kind of when you're already like a purple belt. Like your game is already kind of established. You already developed your style, like that, and that comes with a lot of maturity too to stay in it. Like a lot of people quit once they're already satisfied. As well too. So you see a lot of people move, which is not their fault. Life happens, or sometimes they get lazy and complacent, So that you start seeing a big difference between like a purple belt and a brown belt kind of individual. Those kind of look a little different, And the same thing for a brown belt to black belt. A lot of people never get their black belt because they've been training for 8, 10, 12 years, and they're just like, why am I not a black belt yet? It's like, it's not about that. You know what I mean? And they lose that mentality. I feel like a big thing becoming from a brown belt to black belt is also your mentality, how you treat your partners around you as well. Like, are you giving back to them? Are you just that douche in the gym? You're never gonna get promoted, you haven't learned no humility yet. That's the main thing in jiu-jitsu, killing that ego. You know what I mean? So you see it just look different throughout the belts, and then I feel like as a black belt, you're still growing, because when you're a black belt, the journey doesn't end. You're just a white belt again. You
just find out that you don't know anything.
You're like, oh, I thought I knew stuff, and now you got to start all over, and not really start all over, but build upon what you already know and grow more. So
then you roll with Hydra Gracie, and you're like, wait a minute. I thought I knew something. Just
even feeling squeezes that of people have been doing it 3 times as long as you. You're like me. I'm like, oh, I've been doing it for 13 years. Ha, ha, ha. Then you feel like 33 years. and you feel that squeeze. You're like,
Yeah.
dude, that doesn't feel like my side. That can't feel like how mine feel. You know, like a funny story was like bicep slicers. You know, from Spiderweb, and one option is the bicep slicer. You know, so I think I might be a blue belt or a purple belt, and I'm like, we're going to HQ.
Yeah.
Usually, when you feel a bicep slicer, it feels like hot. Kinetic energy building up, you know. That's what you
Yeah.
kind of feel. It just feels like a lot of heat in your arm,
Yeah.
you know. And I'm like, okay, I can deal with this heat, whatever. I eat this, and I'll like let you either tie out your legs or try to pull my arm, and I'll hitchhike or do something, you know what I mean, along those lines,
Yeah.
or like let
I'll
me get
be
out,
tough,
stack
I'll be
you, I'll
alright.
be good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's not dangerous, really.
Right,
You see
right,
what I'm
right.
saying? And then I go to HQ. I have that same mentality. Go against Master Eddie, different level. You know what I mean? Different level of grappling. You know, and you know, Spiderweb bicep. That's his stuff. You know,
Yeah,
it's his system.
yeah.
So me, I'm like, I'll let you wear Spiderweb. I'll let you bicep slicer me. You know, me cocky little blue belt. You know, I mean, I do this to everybody. Nobody gonna, you know what I mean?
You invented this. I got it.
Yeah, you invented this, but of course ain't gonna be nothing to me. You know what I mean? And next
You
thing
say your last name was Kimura?
exactly, just that crazy mentality, you know. Next thing you know, I'm in the bicep slicer. I'm like, I'm gonna eat this, and next you know, I have a different mentality. Like the warning signals, like your arm is gonna explode. This feels different than everybody else's. Like I felt geos, I felt everybody else's just the angle, the squeeze, the experience.
Yeah.
It's just like the grips. It's just completely different level. You're just like, I think I got a tap, bro. Like, I think I got a tap or something bad's gonna happen. Like,
Boogie's front headlock series, and that was my first experience of that. We showed up on I don't remember what night, but it was one of the nights not to show up, but to show up. It was like one of those nights.
Yeah.
And I think I don't know how many times he choked me, but I remember for 2 years afterwards, I was fighting out of chokes because I was like, it's not Boogie's.
I swear, that's what happens. You go through somebody that's like super tough or special at something.
Yeah.
You go get anything that's less than that. You're like, this is nothing.
This is nothing.
Yeah.
It's like that, I saw my life flash
felt
before
worse.
my
Yeah.
eyes. Yeah. What was your worst coming up when you almost died? Like who did that to you? You don't have to name names if you don't want to, but there is a moment in everybody's career where you died or almost died, and
I don't know.
it's memorable. No,
I don't think so, man.
you don't have one.
I don't have a moment that we're just getting beat up. Really, like everything like that is really when I first started.
Okay.
Like the first couple months, because when I first started, you guys think our room is difficult now. Imagine when everybody was in the same gym.
Yeah.
Now everybody got their own gym. So
Yeah.
the hardest was when I first started because I'm day one and everybody's 2 years in.
And they're like,
year and a half.
boy.
Yeah, like I'm a fresh fish, what they call it. You know,
Yeah,
like it's just like I'm getting beat up. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? The first couple of times, that's when you're like, man, I gotta get better, man, because I like this stuff, but I'm losing right now. Like I gotta figure out how to like watch more videos, stretch more. That's when I had to do. It's like I'm getting beat up so bad, bro. I'm like, dude, like I gotta do yoga or something. Like I gotta like figure out how to do the cheat code.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like literally doing jiu-jitsu at home, and then coming back is like I've been doing it for 24 hours because when I get home, I got carpet burns, no diddy, because me and the homie, we at the place rolling, doing drilling because we're like, bro, I gotta get better.
They beat me up
They
yesterday.
beat me up, bro.
I
Like,
can't go back.
I can't go back and not learn something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like
Yeah.
at open mat, one of those guys at open mat, like, yo, like after the open mat, after like going against a high belt or whatever, like a blue belt at the time.
Show
that's a
me
high
how
belt.
you did that.
How did
Yeah.
you do this?
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
Can you show me
yeah,
something
yeah,
from here?
yeah.
Trying to get as much knowledge as possible.
Did
'cause I'm
anybody
getting
show you
worse.
something that didn't help and you had to like go unlearn it? That you were like, oh, that blue belt didn't help me at all.
I'm trying to think. Nah, lucky I've had actually a little bit. One of the guys named Dima, he used to show me some 50-50 stuff that wasn't really applicable, but at the time seemed really good. You know that white belt, blue belt techniques?
Yeah.
They're like, oh yeah, that'll work for sure.
And then you
the
go to
higher-
do it.
yeah, it don't really work. Yeah, it was like these type of arm bars from 50-50 that's like, now I'm thinking like, man, I'm exposing my inside heel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm doing stuff that now just doesn't make sense,
Yeah.
or even a couple weeks later didn't make sense, you
You're
know?
sitting on the wall watching two blue belts teach each other. Be like, that's cute.
And you're just like, bro, that would never work. But okay, you can keep doing that. Like, you know,
Learn.
You got to think when we first started at Temple Plata Vista, there was no black belt.
Yeah.
There was no brown belt.
Yeah.
Like, you know, they had we had Gio, I think, just got his purple belt.
I remember when purple belts were black belts.
So it was just
Yeah.
like, that's it, you know. So it's like, and then we'll go to HQ once a week to have a black belt, or Sean Bollinger will come down, you know, to come give us our black belt technique, you know. And from there, you're like learning yourself. Like nobody really taught me leg locks. You know what I mean? I learned that myself by just repping and stuff and getting good. Like there wasn't nobody even in our system now is really like a leg lock kind of guy like that, really, you know.
I got you.
It's adapting, you know. Like even in our system, we have calf slicers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you look at mastering the warm-ups, that's the only type of form of leg lock we have, really. Now we have the Rami Flow that shows you stuff like that, like the transition between. But that's a newer thing. That's
I was saying the new stuff there's some stuff. There's like an X break.
That's the newer stuff. That's from Marvin.
Yeah. Okay.
That's newer. That's the you're talking about the last like 3-4 years.
Okay, that's since the updates.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about. I've been doing it for 13 years.
Yeah,
so who was doing it 13 years ago?
I feel you.
You see what I'm saying? So when I started, it was none of that in the warm-ups. It's just like, oh, you like this kind of things, you're good at this. Because when you start jiu-jitsu, you gravitate what you're already naturally built for. I'm lanky, what you're good at. You know what I mean? I like naturally was good at rubber guards, some darces and stuff because of my body type and then legs. But I had no blueprint for legs.
Yeah. That's interesting too. Like in the when you start talking to guys from different generations of like how they refer to the warm ups, you can tell like by what generation they learned it because of like some of the names that have changed,
for sure,
things like that. It's kind of funny because it's like anything like where there's like generational gaps where like you can tell who the old heads are, and you can tell who the new guys are. Sometimes the new guys are like, we got rid of that, Gramps. We don't do that anymore. Have you seen what they do if you try to do that? They do a backflip. And you're like, wait, they're doing backflips?
They're doing backflips now?
Like, all right, I'm out. Like, get the SpongeBob.
I know. Even the evolutions of everything's changed, man. I remember when we only had one entry to Honey Hole. It was the back step. That's the only thing, you know?
Well, I mean, hypothetically, isn't that really the back step is all the other ones are just the back step in a different position?
The reap. Essentially a butterfly.
You
know, if you have a butterfly, you have it. Like if you have a butterfly, it's essentially half of the back step, you know. But we only knew that once. It was like, I'm going to fake and we didn't even really fake it a lot of times. I was going to say fake the knee slice to it. But
I was really trying to knee slice.
I was just trying to knee slice. But a lot of times, it was just doing a back step. That was like the only thing we really knew. Now you have so many different iterations of it.
Yeah, like the reverse X and stuff
reverse
that you can
X,
do.
you have double butterflies, which is another reverse X iteration or variation.
So like I'm saying, it's still just a back step, just in different positions, right?
Yes.
And half a back step or half a knee slice, because like reverse X is just knee slice upside down.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying, but we didn't know that. Like, you know, like, I guess we knew, but like you didn't see it there. That's what I'm saying. Before it was like, and then also the counters. Before you get the honey hole, and it was like, oh, it's done. It's a wrap.
Okay.
Now people have more awareness. They have more counters to the thing. Cause
there's people that'll let you almost go all the way to the break and then counter you.
Yeah, I'll let you get deep. Oh, you want to play legs? Perfect. Fantastic. That's you saved me 80% of my entry.
When people ask me, because like when you go out and train out in the world, like you just said, people go, oh, you're 10th planet. Oh, legs. You know legs. And it's like, look, man, I know enough legs to like know when to run. I know when you're too comfortable to go, no, I'm out.
Yeah, like, this don't feel good.
No, like you're way too cool with me being this tight. Like because I know that
if there's
one
no
of us
panic,
is gonna break.
Yeah. And there's no panic when you're attacking. You're like, why is he so calm? I'm in a pretty decent position. Yeah, I know.
That's when I start pummeling out.
I know. I don't like
I'm
it.
Out.
No,
I'm good. Well, as far as like systems and things that are going right now, is there anything that you're working on or playing with, or something that you want to tease out there? Anything? Something you're teaching tonight? Because we're gonna film that. We'll put that in an exclusive spot people can find. So
for sure, man. Okay. I have a couple of different things. You know, with seminars, you always want it planned out.
Right.
It's 3 hours. You can't come in here like a class and just like see who's in there, and it's kind of like, oh, we just do this today. With seminars, like, okay, no matter what you want to kind of give them your style. So it's always planned out before, you know. So I have like 2 or 3 systems I'm kind of thinking in my head primarily. One, it's called 36 Chambers. Okay. It's one of my newest systems. It's from one of my favorite sweeps. It's a tripod sweep, very foundational in jiu-jitsu. You know, I do it so often that I was like, what else can I do from this? You know, I feel like a lot of times we come up and we do like a knee slice, get the underhook, knee slice, pass. And, you know, when you do like a directional pad, you think,
Right.
when you go up, left, and down, like I like to use the analogy so much, you wonder what is right. What does right look like? One day I went right and found this whole new system, you know, and it's just really cool. Went out of the box and found, and with a system, you need a little bit of everything. So I have rubber guard, I have chokes, I have every joint lock you could think of there. And it's like you could use it offensively and defensively, which I love. You know,
Yeah.
if I want the armbar offensively, I can grab it. And I could, or they could do a certain thing, a certain type of pulse, which give it to me a push off that will also give me the same reaction. You know, so each offensive move has a defensive reaction too, which is nice. So you can use them
Yeah.
as counters or offensively. And another kind of system I've been working more last maybe 2 months. It's a combination of a reverse De La Riva and an open guard kind of mixture. Like you could use it either way, but I've been more successful when I have the connection to the Achilles, you know.
Okay.
But it almost looks like a type of false reap kind of system.
Okay.
You know, and that allows you to do a lot of different arm bars and triangles and leg locks. So, you know, I love high-low mix-ups, low-high mix-ups. You're looking at this, I attack here, or if I'm attacking here, I can attack here too. You know, just having the whole body at my disposal versus just being tunneled out on one part of the body and then reaching a dead end and like, okay, let's start at neutral. And I want an endless flow.
So are you in your design of your systems like this? Are you like a madman like Charlie from Always Sunny, like with all your strings and all that type stuff, or do you have like a neat, nice notebook with your sketch pad, or like how are you when you organize this?
I organize it nice. It's in my head.
I feel like you're that
beautiful.
kind of guy.
Yeah,
Like, you have a
like-
nice notebook, like
Yeah,
almost
it's
serial
that.
killer vibe.
Yeah, very almost OCD-ish,
Yeah,
you know, in my
that's
head.
what I
Yeah,
feel like. Okay, so
very
is-
structured.
So you have like a physical writing of this, or
No, it's in my head.
It's all in your head.
I've always had like a photographic memory as a
Okay.
kid. That's helped me significantly in school. Like being on a test and like, what was that again? See the page number, the picture, the lines.
I
Oh
feel-
yeah,
yeah,
perfect.
yeah,
Like almost
okay.
word for word.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? I've always kind of been like that. That's what helps me with my memorization for techniques.
Okay.
You know, so when I have it, I figure it out. I spend time on it, and it's just glued in my head. You
Yeah.
know, so that's kind of how it is. It's just
Okay.
neatly in my head.
Well, cool. Well, you're headed off on vacation. You got anything going on vacation that you're advertising? I know you got a seminar that you're just doing passing through here, but
Yep.
are
Nah,
you
man.
just chilling and
It's
vibing?
really just vibing. Really, like I said, we have this Cancun tonight, of course, have a seminar, and then I'm going to Brazil for Carnaval. Never experienced that. Want that for the bucket list, just to do it at least once. Probably going to do it again at least twice, because
That would be fun.
how you know it's just really good if you don't do it at least twice, you know?
Okay,
You know?
okay.
So got to do at least twice,
Yeah.
you know? But got that, and then just a couple competitions coming up, big competitions coming up. So this is like my reprieve before going in my cave and just working, going what we call the lab, my hyperbolic time chamber, and just
Yeah.
turning off the world and
Yeah.
grinding. You know, we have one 3 weeks after I come back in UK. You know, that's called Alpha Grappling kind of thing. That's really cool. And then we have the AIGA in June, $1 million tournament. You know, Team 10 Planet. I gotta lose a lot of weight.
So you gotta go eat some tacos.
So I gotta eat my weight right now, you know, because I look forward to that in a couple of months of not eating like a rabbit, what we say. You know? But
yeah. I feel you. Well, where can the people find you on the interwebs?
absolutely, you guys can find me on Instagram, K_Chambers10P. I'm on Facebook and other stuff like that, but I'm primarily on Instagram, so you guys can find me there.
Word. Let's go do some jiu-jitsu stuff.
Yes.
The jiu-jitsu things we'll put on like a exclusive channel.
Beautiful.
And like we'll have like those different things that we get in the details later and whatnot.
Let's do it.
Maybe we'll make some content and do some stuff later.
Yep.
But
I'm down.
this was cool.
Eat some food, some tacos.